Every video and episode of the It's Cavalier podcast is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, podcasts, member shoutouts, and more. And as always, thank you for watching.
Tyler, one last thing on the topic. Do you think saying that type of comment in general about anyone is not appropriate for an NBA player to do about another NBA player?
I mean, it's cool. At the end of the day, it's competitive. But somebody who doesn't play defense shouldn't be talking to you. He don't play any defense. We'll see that tomorrow.
You mentioned that you're obviously a competitor, so obviously when you hear comments like that, does that sort of maybe fuel for Game 3, kind of more tomorrow? Obviously, I know that you guys are down 0-2, so that's already fuel for itself.
Yeah, I have enough fuel in me, in this locker room, around the organization, in the building. I don't need any fuel from that guy.
Run.
I don't give a fuck about Max Strus. Like,
How much?
You better give a fuck about Max Strus. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. Today, obviously, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Miami Heat in Game 3 of this Eastern Conference quarterfinal series. Typically a game that could swing one of two ways. You got the home team of Miami who is thinking, hey, we got home court. That should give us a bit of a boost. And, let's be honest. There's a couple things that occurred from the jump. Obviously, let's talk about the elephant in the room. There were comments made on both sides, starting with Darius Garland. He didn't go out to the media, so let's clarify that. Darius Garland did not seek out the media. He was asked a question straight up, and he responded in kind, replying that they would, in fact, target or go at or attack the Miami Heat's Tyler Herro. That was step one. Step two, Tyler responded. He caught wind of that, and it turned into a shit show really fast with people just taking it way out of hand, mostly just the fans taking it. Some people taking it out of context, some people making it more than it really was. Even Tyler himself kind of playing into it, as you heard during those comments, during that quote. Well, what happened? After many people were expecting Darius Garland to suit up in this one, he didn't, right? It was announced that he would be missing this game due to a toe injury that he suffered near the end of Game 2. So that was a bit of a bummer. Not only because people felt as if you're going to talk shit like that, you're going to talk a lot of words, you're going to talk some smack, you better go out there and back up your play. Two things that I will say to that. One, the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing for the title. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to understand what the end goal is, what they are trying to accomplish. So they don't give a fuck about the Miami Heat. They don't care about Tyler Herro. Miami and Bam should care about Max Strus, though, as you saw the type of performance that he put on today. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But when all these words are flying around, of course, people on both sides, fans of both fan bases, are going to want to see both suit up and hopefully watch the sparks fly, let the game on the court do most of the talking. Let's see how the dust settled after that. And obviously that did not happen. DG sat out today, but Tyler should have sat out himself because this game was not a good one for Tyler Herro, as he would go just 5 of 13 from the field for a measly 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. Just 1 of 3 from three-point range. There was a reason for that, and his name is Dean Wade. Oh my gosh. Dean Wade was phenomenal today from a defensive standpoint. And look, one thing that we need to go ahead and just throw right on out there is that Sam Merrill drew the start in place of Darius Garland. They slid Donovan Mitchell over to the 1. Sam Merrill picked up the start at the 2, Max at the 3, and then so on and so forth with Evan and Jarrett Manning. They're occupying their typical positions at the 4 and 5. And so that's a much deserved start for Sam Merrill. But Dean Wade's defense, my gosh, on Tyler Herro was phenomenal. They just denied him so much. And he's kind of, you can attribute this to Sam, whoever else was out there defending Herro as well. They just did not let him get anything off. And after everything that was said, you would have expected, especially with Darius Garland out, for this game to be much, much more competitive than the end result painted out to be, as the Cavaliers would win 124-87. I kid you not. They absolutely beat the brakes off the Miami Heat on their home floor, on their home court. There was nothing that Miami could have done to stop the ass whooping that they received today. And you know what? It's been absolute crickets from the Miami Heat fans that were in this same chat on some of these videos, just saying a lot of different things that obviously are not going to come to pass. And nobody from that fan base has come and said anything. I expected a little bit more vitriol. I expected somebody to come in here talking shit, or it's been dead silent, been crickets. And honestly, I'm all here for it because after some of the slander that was thrown out there, especially about Darius Garland's defense, I was very, very eager to watch Game 3 play out because it was an opportunity for Cleveland to go out there and make a statement, and make a statement they did. One of the things that they did today that was absolutely critical was the dominance of the painted area, where they outscored Miami 60-30. My gosh, they doubled them up in the paint, and at the heart of that all was Jarrett Allen. Ty Jerome factors in there too with his facilitation. Max Strus does as well. Evan Mobley was great at times from inside that painted area, but it was Jarrett Allen's world, and Miami was just living in it, as Jarrett would finish 8 of 9 from the field, including 22 points to lead Cleveland. It was just phenomenal. They could not stop him. The pick and roll, especially from the weak side, they had no answer for it. The DHO between Strus and Allen, and Merrill and Allen, and Ty Jerome and Allen, and finding these guys around the rim for alley-oops. It was unstoppable. Unstoppable. There was nothing that they could have gone out there to do to protect that painted area. And it's not like they're a great defensive team in the postseason. Anyway, they actually entered Game 3 as the league's worst rated team from a defensive standpoint in the playoffs through 2 games. No bueno from them. They just cannot keep up. And what have I been saying? This team is competitive. Eric Spoelstra will have them playing competitive basketball. But that simply was just not the case, as Cleveland executed so many runs. It started with an 18-0 run after, admittedly, got Boston on the mind. Jesus. Miami came out of the gate swinging, right? They came out through the first punch, but the way in which Cleveland responded, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. They went on an 18-0 run and would end up going completely 27-5 at a certain point, and extended their lead. They led by as many as 40 points today, but the lead was started early, right? They led by as many as, I believe, 19 points, 18 points by the close of the half, and it just would not go down from there. It was just an ass kicking that was handed out, and really the positives can go all the way around. Ty Jerome was excellent today. Jarrett Allen was phenomenal today. DeAndre Hunter was awesome today in his own right. Dean Wade, from a defensive standpoint, taking on that defensive challenge of trying to D up Tyler Herro and company. He was really, 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 really good. Was a plus 19 on the floor, despite scoring despite not scoring at all. right? Missing both of his attempts from three-point distance. Despite that, he played 22 minutes and was a plus 19. And a huge reason for that was the defense that he was applying, the pressure that he was applying on Miami's ball handlers. There just was no answer tonight. And you know what? Let's start with the man that Bam Adebayo, as you heard to open, does not care about. Let me play that clip one more time.
Run.
I don't give a fuck about my numbers. Like,
How much?
You should care about Max Strus, because Max Strus absolutely obliterated the Miami Heat defense today with this play out there. Let's take a look at the stat sheet for one Max Strus, as we see 18 points, 9 rebounds. That was huge. That was a critical piece of his involvement today, and how he was able to impact the game was on the glass. The ball movement, facilitation between himself and the bigs. 5 assists, was 7 of 13 from the field. That is good for 53.8%, including 4 of 9 from three-point range. That is 44.4%. And he did that in about 31 minutes of action. And again, this is coming in a game without Darius Garland, so you would expect Strus to kind of, be given some of those minutes. And that's exactly what happened. He was also given a good deal of touches. And that is why the man finished with 13 or so field goal attempts. As you see, it was either at the rim, where he was pretty damn efficient, or it was from beyond the arc. Rarely, if ever, will you see Max Strus being a mid-range guy. It's either at the rim or from beyond the arc. His game has been streamlined in that way, especially in the Kenny Atkinson offense. And it has worked in a very, very positive way. And after the comments that were made by Bam Adebayo, you could see this coming from a mile away. Max has actually been very, very efficient in this postseason. It has been awesome. Honestly, it has been awesome to see him kind of make them eat their words, because we know, right? After the playoff outing that he had, especially in their finals runs, it was not pretty from a statistical standpoint for Max Strus. But so far through 3 games, Max Strus is averaging 13.7 points, 3.7 rebounds, 4 assists. And this is the best part, ladies and gentlemen. He is shooting 53.8% from the field, including 50% from three-point distance on high volume, 7.3 attempts per game. That means he is knocking down 3.7 triples per game over these first 3. He has a true shooting percentage of 76.3%. I don't know if you heard me, so I'm going to say it again. I'm going to repeat it. He is shooting 76.3% in regards to his true shooting percentage. This motherfucker has been awesome for the Cleveland Cavaliers. For all the people out there questioning whether or not he should still be starting, guys, this is why Kenny Atkinson trusts him. It is the same reason why he trusts Sam Merrill to enter the starting lineups at various points of the season. This is the type of output that Max Strus can give you. He is not simply just a movement shooter. He is a guy that will move that basketball. He will work his ass off on the glass, and he is a better defender than people give him credit for. And that is why Kenny Atkinson has routinely gone to Max Strus, especially on big possessions. And I think that's an underrated part of what Max Strus brings to the table, right? It's timely shot making. It's not only the fact that he is a high volume guy when you give him the opportunities to do so. It is the fact that this man is knocking down timely shots. He's given the Cavs gravity, the likes of which they haven't had in a long time. And you know what? It's been great. And that, my friends, is why the Miami Heat and Bam Adebayo specifically should care about one Max Strus, is now they are 1 game away from being swept. And so that's the question that I asked you all, because I don't believe it'll happen. I don't think there's a chance in hell, but I will put the question out there. Is there a possibility for the Miami Heat to win at least 1 game in this series, or is it over? I think it's over. I think they're going to end it in Miami, and I think that's the way it was always going to be. I always knew that they would make this a competitive series, but I just didn't think it would be. It just seems like Cleveland has made this a lot easier than a lot of us envisioned it would be in the first place. Major props to Eric Spoelstra. I know he's done everything that he could, but this Cleveland team is just capable of getting to gears that few teams are possible or have the possibility of getting to. He is that, or they are that good. They're just head and shoulders better than many of the opponents that they will see in this 2024-25 postseason. You're seeing that. They're seeing that. They're on the verge of being the only team in the Eastern Conference to sweep their opponent. Hell, they might be the only team in the NBA in the first round to do so. We'll have to see what OKC does in regards to the Memphis Grizzlies. But it's just been such a damn good start. I think they're cooked. I think it's over. And I think the bulletin board material that was given out prior to the start of game 3, whether it was from Darius Garland giving Tyler Harrow and company the bulletin board material, or the bulletin board material that Bam Adebayo handed out and talking about not caring about Strus, or Tyler's response. It clearly they're not capable of backing up the talk, and that is what happened. It's over. It's over. Miami is probably going to blow things up. I think it's done. I think that's the direction that they're going to head in. But time will tell. But I just know this was a hell of a performance by Cleveland, and this is coming, mind you, without Darius Garland, and they're performing this well. And I know some people are going to use this performance, maybe some of you in this chat, but somebody's going to use this performance to say, well, this is why we're better off with Darius Garland, because the defense that we can play and capable of. And to that, I say, that's nonsense. This is the Miami Heat. The Cavs will face better teams. They're going to need more than what they got today. All right. This is not going to be the type of performance that they're going to be able to do every single game, night in and night out. They will face better competition than the Miami Heat. So they will need Darius Garland. But it pays to know that when you don't have one of your big stars out there, that you can perform. And perform very, very well. And part of the reason why that happened is because a guy in the backcourt, the bench god, as he shall henceforth be known as, in Ty Jerome, who in 21 minutes and 45 seconds of action contributed 13 points, 11 assists. The points, we know what he is capable of when he gets his shot rolling from beyond the arc, or when he is out there just knocking down that floater all the live long day. But to me, it was the playmaking that you saw from Ty Jerome that was truly impressive. And it's not like we don't know Ty Jerome to be a creative and impactful facilitator out there, but when he's out there, you're just mainly counting on the scoring punch that he can provide, because he is typically sharing the court with one of Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, or at times both, in 3 guard lineups. And he averaged 3.4 assists this season to go along with his 12.5 points. But the 11 assists that he dished out today, they were pivotal in making sure that the offense did not get stagnant, especially in that second half, in which we know in game, I think it was game 2, where the Cavaliers were absolutely just in a lull, in a daze in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, as they were kind of forced to rely upon Donovan Mitchell to carry them home. That was clearly not the case today, as Ty was making sure to move that ball around, mostly to that painted area, as you saw a number of lob finishes from the bigs and Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen today. So that was really, really good stuff from Ty. And you got to keep this man at whatever cost. I know that obviously things are kind of set in stone in terms of what the Cavaliers could offer him, but I just hope that that is enough to convince him to stay, right? Maybe even if it's just on a short-term contract, as he looks to get paid, as he should. A man in Ty Jerome's position, a man that has turned into a career year and looks like he could be a starter on many teams, he should be looking to get paid, frankly. But I hope that, when he looks at the landscape of what other teams can offer him, which isn't really that much, and when he looks at the fact that this team is a ready-made finals contender, a finals participant likely for the next couple of seasons to come, hopefully, I hope that he sees that this is probably the best situation for him as of right now. So we'll have to see what decision he ends up arriving at. But tonight was just another example of why this man in any other year, any other non-Peyton Pritchard related year would win the sixth man of the year. He was a plus 33 on the day. That was second. And that's crazy. You turn in a game, turn in a performance in which you are plus 33, and you have the second highest plus minus. His teammate, his former Virginia Cavalier teammate, who was awesome today in his own right, DeAndre Hunter, was plus 34. He was really, really big in picking up some of that scoring load that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, because this was not the best Donovan Mitchell performance. Let's not mince words here. Let's not kind of stray away from that. Donovan's shot was not right today. 13 points for him, 4 of 14 from the field, including 3 of 8 from three-point land, to go along with 3 rebounds and 1 assist. Well, we already mentioned the playmaking of Ty Jerome. He also picked up some of the playmaking slack that Donovan Mitchell left on the floor. And by not having Darius Garland out there, you needed somebody to do that. But in terms of what DeAndre Hunter was able to do, when Donovan does not have his shot rolling, you don't have Darius, somebody off that bench was going to be supplying some of that point production, and DeAndre Hunter was able to do that. A big piece of that was the spacing, the three-point shooting that he was able to give. 3 of 5 from three-point land. He was able to get to the line today. He went 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. He contributed 4 rebounds, some nice ones out there too, and 3 assists. He was also moving the ball. He would again finish a plus 34, the best on the floor. And this is why DeAndre Hunter was acquired. And we're talking about Ty possibly winning that sixth man of the year. This is also a man in DeAndre Hunter who is very, very capable and should be deserving of winning the sixth man of the year award himself. And to know that Cleveland has 2 of these guys on their roster, that just speaks to the level of depth that they have been able to secure this year. And after they made that trade for DeAndre Hunter, the sky became the limit. The sky was already the limit, but I mean, they just blew the roof off. They blew the roof off with that trade. And it may not be looked at when you look back on this season as the best trade of the year, as I think most people would probably vote the Luka Doncic trade for when you consider what was given up. DeAndre Hunter, in terms of an impact, that trade hands down is top 3, maybe, second best trade. And depending upon what fan you are, what team you root for, maybe it's the best trade of the year for you. And for me, I'm kind of in that territory, because with DeAndre Hunter, with Dean Wade, with Isaac Okoro, with Sam Merrill, with some of these guys that you have on the bench, it just gives you the ultimate confidence in believing that you can compete with the Bostons and the Oklahoma Cities of the world. It makes you feel like you are capable of winning a title. You have the depth to withstand a possible injury. As you saw today, they withstood Darius Garland being out in a pivotal game 3 in which they were on the road. And this is a team that, they are the best road shooting team in basketball. But I think a lot of people, especially Miami Heat fans, especially the ones that I conversed with, they didn't believe the shooting would carry. They shot 37.5% from three-point distance today. That's 15 of 40. So high volume. They shot 53.5% from the floor overall. And you know what? They proved that shot, no matter whether they're at home, no matter whether they're on the road, it will carry. They are just that talented in that regard. And they also showed you, despite having an affinity, obviously, for that three-point stroke, that they can absolutely dominate you from inside that painted area, where they absolutely dismantled and disrupted the Miami Heat defense. Just 60 paints in the point for Cleveland today to Miami's 30. That is just unbelievable to me. And you know what? A huge factor in today's game, I'm not going to not discuss this, is the turnovers as well. Cleveland committed just 9, right? They were very, very effective, very, very efficient, very, very dominant. I'm trying to find the right word. They secured the basketball. They did not turn it over a ton. I'll just put it in that fashion. Miami, on the other hand, they were giving that ball away left and right. 16 turnovers they committed. And that, my friends, is a big deal because what happens when you do that, obviously, you give the opponent an opportunity to score off of those turnovers. And Cleveland was able to score 21 points off of turnovers today. That is huge to Miami's 11. That was a huge element of today's game. Not only did Cleveland absolutely dominate in terms of that painted area, but they absolutely took just advantage of each and every opportunity that they got whenever Miami turned that ball over. And that's exactly what happened. And you love to see that because Cleveland has not always been the best team at doing this in years past. And they just took care of business today, right? Took care of business today, whether that be paint points, whether that be points off turnover, second chance points. By the way, they won 22-10 in that regard as they mostly were able to win the battle in terms of the offensive rebounds, right? They pulled down 13 offensive rebounds today to Miami's 5. And Miami, mind you, they did not enter this series as a good rebounding team. They would finish with just 34 today. But in terms of what they've been able to do post Jimmy Butler in terms of the rebounds, it ain't been great, right? They ranked just 25th after the post Butler in regards to rebounds. They had been pulling down 42.4 per game to end the regular season across those 33 performances. So rebounding is not something that they have done well. I mean, that's probably putting it nicely. But at the end of the day, if you are the Miami Heat, you have to keep Cleveland off the glass because they've been the most efficient, best and highest ranked offense in the league in the postseason entering today. If I'm not mistaken, they entered today with a offensive rating of 133, which led by a wide margin. Nobody has been able to stop this team when they get it rolling. I'll put it like that. And that to me is just such a good place to be in. It truly is. In terms of the advanced leaders for the team, though, yes, they entered today with an offensive rating of 133. The next closest team was the OKC Thunder at 118.2. So literally an 11 or yeah, and what's that? 11.8 or 12.8 difference between the first and second ranked teams in that regard. The defense, it's not been in the best possible position through these first couple of games, but they've held on. They have seen worse, right? They now after 3 games have a defensive rating of 109.1, which is 7 out of the 16 playoff field. Miami, conversely, through 3 games, I shit you not, they have a defensive rating of 134.1, dead last in the NBA and by a wide margin. The next closest team in that regard is the 15th ranked Memphis Grizzlies, who have a defensive rating of 118.2. It just ain't pretty all the way around. And by the way, as a result of that, Cleveland has a net rating of a staggering 24.9. The only team better by a smidge is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a net rating of 25.4. So both number 1 seeds in both conferences are absolutely dominating, right? And I know that OKC had that large comeback the other day against Memphis, so that kind of skews things a little bit, but both of these teams have been dominant, and they are both on track to sweep the field in the postseason. They're both up 3-0 in their respective series, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how both series end, but it seems like a collision course that is bound to happen. And who knows what happens with some of the other series in the Eastern Conference as we see Detroit and New York kind of going at it, as we see the Bucks and Pacers doing much the same. And I really don't know what to make of the Boston-Orlando series. I think most people probably believe that Boston is going to win that series, but they're taking some hits. You already saw what happened in the games 2 and 3. They are giving Boston all that they can handle from a physicality standpoint. And I know that not a lot of people enjoy that. Unless you're an Orlando Magic fan, you're probably not happy with some of what you are seeing in terms of the physicality that's being allowed by that team. And that's part of the reason why a lot of Cleveland fans did not want to face them. And I was in the minority in that. I always felt like, hey, yeah, that's the team that I want to face in the first round. But I can easily understand why a lot of people don't want that because of that physicality, because of the potential chance for injury. As we saw Kristaps Porzingis get his head split open, just gushing blood all over the place. And I say all this to say that we're not really sure what's going to happen with some of these other series, but Cleveland appears to be on the path of a sweep. They appear to be on the verge of a sweep. And today was about as complete a performance as you can get out of some of the smaller pieces on the roster. And when I say small, I'm not talking about height. I'm talking about guys that normally you're not expecting to do some of the damage that they did. Obviously, Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter, we know what they're capable of, but I don't think that the majority of the fan base was expecting Max Strus to be as pivotal as he was today. I don't think a lot of people were expecting Sam Merrill to be as pivotal as he has been in this series, because Sam has been awesome in basically all games in this series. And it's a huge reason why he was given that start over Dean Wade or Isaac Okoro or Ty Jerome or some of the other options that they could have thrown out there. But yeah, in a day, in a game where you did not have Darius Garland available, in a game in which Donovan Mitchell was not his typically dominant self, it pays to have this type of talent. The Cavs are just so damn deep. And I believe I heard it during the broadcast, and you can feel free to disagree with this or not, but some people legitimately feel like this team just does not have any flaws. I believe, just watching them all season long, I think there is no flawless team in basketball. There are always things that can be exploited. But Cleveland is as close to flawless as you can get in the Eastern Conference, right? Everybody knows that the team will like to have more depth at that backup big position. You want a true backup 4 or 5. But when you have DeAndre Hunter logging the majority of his minutes at the 4, you have Dean Wade, and Cavaliers have been very, very selective with how many minutes they've given him for the first couple of games of this series. Now, obviously today, I believe that he played around 22 or so, didn't score, but what he is asked to do doesn't typically involve him to do that. And that's what he's shown. And so I think they've done an excellent job in managing him and the minutes that both he and DeAndre Hunter have been given. And I say all this to say that when you have these two guys contributing and giving you minutes at that backup 4 and sometimes backup 5, and if you are Dean Wade, in the case of Dean Wade, you can live with them not having a true big out there. But that's really the only flaw that they have. If you want to call their size in the backcourt a true flaw, I guess, but I think that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are both capable of kind of making up for that size deficiency that they can be at. And I know that was a huge conversation, a huge topic in terms of this Tyler Hero versus Darius Garland dynamic that was brewing up prior to the start of this game, prior to Darius Garland being ruled out, was, hey, Darius is not a great defender himself, and he can be exploited in terms of mismatches and targeted out there. When the reality is, Darius has actually held up very, very good against the switch. When you look at what he has done, the work that he has done against, say, Jason Tatum, who has been a frequent guy out there that switches out on him anytime Cleveland plays Boston, and he has held Tatum to, I believe, 10 of 26 this season. And, I just, to me, I think when people talk about the defense in the backcourt and the size deficiencies in the backcourt, I think they tend to blow it out of proportion. It hasn't made a huge difference when teams try to target Cleveland in that fashion. But I do understand that if those are the two flaws that you are willing to say that the Cavaliers actually have, it's valid to certain degrees, but they are about as close to flawless as a team as you can get. Just very, very high level coaching, top level talent in both the starting lineup and on the bench. The depth just goes for days. And I just think it's all culminating in one of the best seasons that we have ever seen from the Wine and Golders. And so it's just been awesome. It is just been awesome to see it all play it out. And so with that, it's probably a great place to hop into the chat. 216 Kick says 3-0. Man, one more and we get the sweep. William Hooper says Mitchell wasn't hot tonight. Garland's out. Cavs outscored them by 37. All the folks saying first round exit can eat crow. Look, there were a ton of people. I don't know if you guys were in here during the stream after game one, or if you watched the preview that I released for this series. There were a lot of Miami Heat fans chirping up saying the Cavaliers don't have experience and that playoff basketball is different from regular season basketball. Those folks are dead silent. I have heard little, if anything, really honestly, nothing from those same people. They have not been back to comment. They are not in here. They have not been yapping at all. They've just shut up. And honestly, sometimes that's the best thing that you can do. Win. Winning cures all. Winning shuts people the hell up. And that's exactly what has happened in this series as Miami learned a very valuable lesson. And that to me is that you should not judge a book by its cover. Cleveland may on the surface seem like they are just a regular season success story, but we all know in watching this team all season long that that's not the case. But if you're an outside observer, you're looking at what they have and you're thinking to yourselves, yeah, they'll flame out come the postseason. Well, Miami just learned the hard way that that is not even remotely the case. D Jackson says this series is over 3-0 lead. Yeah, Cavs are dominating the Heat. Josh Sawyer says, people call me crazy for saying the Cavs will sweep the Heat in the past, and this proves me right. And I must admit, I've been one of these people that said I did not believe that Miami would go out in 4. I did not think that Cleveland would sweep them. I thought that they would at least steal one game, but I got to admit, I just don't see that happening. That changed for me right after game 2, in which everything kind of went wrong for Cleveland, and Cleveland still won. Despite the offense going cold, despite them sputtering, and despite Donovan Mitchell kind of having to play hero ball to keep them in it and to ultimately win the game, that was the one I felt that Miami had the best opportunity to steal. And a lot of people disagree with me there, saying, nah, just wait till they get to their home court. That'll be the one that they take in game 3. And that chance seemed even more likely when it was announced that Darius Garland would be ruled out for game 3. But after today's performance, I don't see anything remotely close to resembling a W happening for Miami. I think it's over. Richard Hacker says, kick their ass. Certainly did. HJ17 Gaming says, I will die on this hill. Dean Wade needs all of Merrill's minutes. His defense and size is irreplaceable. HJ, have you watched this series at all? I love Dean Wade. Dean Wade was phenomenal today from a defensive standpoint. But if this is your takeaway, if you believe that Dean truly needs all of Merrill's minutes, I cannot agree with you. I don't know what you're watching if you think that's the case. Did you watch his defense, specifically on Tyler Herro in games 1 and 2 of this series? Have you watched the three-point shot making that he has brought to the table? He showed that time and time again. I can't agree with you there, but I understand the sentiment of Dean Wade. He's been awesome. Jordan React says the Cavs had Darius back for people saying he ducking 13-point Tyler Herro today. Love to see it. Yeah, and again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. When you see these types of spats and interactions occur, of course, like we're getting our popcorn ready and waiting for these two guys to duke it out on the court and let the game speak for itself. But clearly that was not the case today. And even still, Tyler was ass. He was worse than ass. He was shit. He was the shit that comes out of the ass. He was just bad, man. He was pretty damn bad today. And I think I'd like to think that Dean Wade and others from a defensive standpoint had a lot to do with that. Richard Hacker says Ty is the man. Yeah, man, he's phenomenal. Plus 33 today, 13 points, 11 assists, double-double. That's awesome. D Jackson says Herro was dissing Garland and the Heat get blown out. Yeah, shut the fuck up, Herro. Yeah. They have nothing to offer. Darwin Morgan says Miami's objective, avoid getting swept. And look, I take no pleasure in the Cavaliers just absolutely wiping the floor with Eric Spoelstra. I respect the hell out of that man, that organization. But at the end of the day, I think we all kind of knew that they are not on Cleveland's level. Obviously, they scraped by to get into the playoffs. They had to win the play-in tournament, where they had to win their battle in the play-in tournament to get there. And that kind of speaks for itself. They had no shot in the series, but they made it competitive. Brilliant Damage says Heat finally stopped shooting over 50% from the mid-range on tough contests. And you knew that was going to happen. That was always going to level out. It's one thing, because I've had numerous Miami Heat fans mention to me on social media that, hey, the Cavaliers' hot shooting is not going to carry over once we get over to Miami. And I'm like, you might want to, are you sure about that? Because this is the best shooting team on the road, right? They're the best road shooting team in the league this season, especially from 3-point distance. It was always going to carry over. It was always likely that it was going to carry over. However, the shot making that Miami was able to put together in games 1 and 2, and at the start of this game, it was never going to be sustainable for the entirety of the series as Cleveland defense absolutely clamped down. It cooled off. 216 Kick says, I knew Max Strus was bound to have a good game in Miami. J Quest says Strus pick and roll is a beautiful thing. It is. The pick and roll, the DHO, if you haven't already, I released a video on this very phenomenon in terms of the chemistry between Max Strus and the bigs, specifically Max and Jarrett Allen. The link to it will be in the description, but the video tells it all about some of the variations, some of the types of sets that they like to run. And you saw that play out today, right? His chemistry with the bigs can be heavily attributed to his time spent alongside Bam Adebayo, which to me it's crazy because you would think that Bam wouldn't say or give Max the type of bulletin board material that he gave him, knowing that the chemistry between Jared and Evan and Max, a lot of that is because of Bam Adebayo's play over the years with Max, right? Some of the tendencies, because Bam and Evan are very similar in terms of how they like to function at times. And Jared, at the very least, same type of rim roller that Bam is capable of being at times. So they do a lot of these same things. So yeah, it's been awesome to see that happen. Antoine Cunningham says, go Cavs. No, it's over. That must be in response to my question. Jeremy Johnson says, it's over. Game over. Enjoy the rebuild. Beast Girl says, sweep, right? Brooms. Straight brooms. 4 of them things. Shady says, how do you see our matchup against Boston to play out? Frankly, I got to watch the Boston-Orlando series play out to its conclusion, because although I'm sure that Boston is probably going to escape as the victor in that series, it's not a given yet. Miami is toast against Cleveland, but Orlando is making that a series against Boston. To me, I really don't know, because somebody could get injured or let Orlando pull out some type of upset and things just go all over the place, all over the rails in terms of what the matchups look like for Cleveland in the future. And again, this is only round 1. Cleveland has to get past round 2 as well, as they will, duke it out the Pacers or, if I'm not mistaken, the Milwaukee Bucks. The seeding is always something that's kind of cracked me up in terms of how that goes. Royal Band says Hunter was extraordinary this game. He absolutely was. Cavs King 2016 says, I don't give a fuck about no Max Strus. And the comment that Bam made, he says, yeah, okay, let him know. Such a phenomenal performance, man. Such an awesome performance. Talking and Grubbin Media says Celtics are getting beaten up by the Magic right now. R. Spiller 2019 says, darn right, but Perkins said that Cleveland won't win the championship this year unless both Garland and Mitchell score 30 or more points each. Don't give that BS, Perk. Yeah, and I think that today's game is a great example of, even when you don't have Darius, even when Donovan is not his typical efficient self, that the Cavaliers have enough pieces to make up for that, especially in terms of offense. So we shall see. Antoine Cunningham says the Cavs are a championship team, period. People need to realize that this team is great. They are built to win the chip, period. Go Cavs. I really, really see that this is a real possibility. Jordan React says, one compliment to Miami, though, is that I do like the Bam Ware front court for the future. Ware just looks like Evan did in his first series against the Knicks, needs to develop and get used to the playoffs. Again, I respect the hell out of that organization. I respect the coaching. Spo was one of the best coaches with one of the best resumes in NBA history. You can't take that away from him. He's a multi-time champion, and he has basically always got these guys competing for a playoff spot year in and year out over the course of his 17 plus years there. But there's a clear talent deficit. One area that there does not seem to be a huge deficit is in that front court. Now, obviously, Cleveland has the better front court with the pairing of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley from a collective standpoint. But Bam is no slouch. Bam is a better player. objectively than at the very least Jarrett Allen, but I think that Evan Mobley is a better player than Bam Adebayo. So in terms of how you look at this from a a linear, a linear standpoint, I would have to say that Khalil Ware is the fourth best big in this series. You have Evan Mobley at the front. You got Bam Merrill number two, Bam Adebayo number two, and Jarrett Allen is the third best big in this series. But I say all this to say that I think that front court pairing between Ware and Bam, that's solid. I think that as long as one of those two, just like Evan and Jarrett, at least one of those two can be a reliable floor spacer. And Ware, at the very least, unlike Jarrett Allen, has shown more of a willingness to take that 3-point shot. Jarrett will take it, when the Cavaliers are up large or when there's no pressure, or or if he's asked to, like he was in that last game. Ware is not that same type of player. He legitimately could potentially develop into a real shot maker from 3-point range. And Bam, although not efficient, although not a high volume guy, has shown that he can at least take that shot and knock it down, as he did today, right? You saw him knock down a couple of those looks today, but I think that they have a long way to go in trying to figure out what direction that they actually want to head in. Because Bam, he ain't no spring chicken. He's not a super young guy, but he's also not truly old. And Khalil Ware is obviously a rookie, and he's got some things to learn. And I do, at the end of the day, like what they have in terms of that front court, though. Pee Wee's Burnt Pizza says Heat fans really thought they would beat us with these. All of them had Heat winning in 6 at worst. They really did. And that's why I'm giving them shit, because there were a lot of people that were coming in here and talking crazy. And I'm like, man, y'all just ain't been watching this Cavs team all year, because they've been busting people's heads. They've been busting ass all season long. And they're up 3-0 now over the Miami Heat, the same Miami Heat team that people love to praise for that Heat culture, and that they know playoff basketball. They can flip that proverbial switch. Well, I think a lot of that switch went out the door when Jimmy Butler did. And I had people talking to me about that, right? And I'm just like, man, y'all ain't been watching this team all season, have you? Because Cleveland is just on a different level. Yeah, and Jordan brings this up. Somebody just literally suggested this to me yesterday when I had quoted Darius Garland's defensive numbers against Jason Tatum. Somebody then brought up, well, this team would be in a much different place if Jimmy Butler was a part of the team still, and if they could mismatch Jimmy on Darius, and they could force the switch. And I'm like, well, playoff Jimmy ain't coming through those gates anymore. He is not a part of your team. Let it go. So yeah, they're saying they're lucky, that we're lucky that Jimmy doesn't still suit up for them. But even with Jimmy Butler, I still would have viewed this as a Cleveland series to lose. I always felt that Cleveland was going to win this one. I thought it would be a little bit more competitive. With Jimmy, it would be a little bit more competitive, but ultimately the result would still be the same. Cleveland would win. And that's the way it's going to be. And to me, from what you are seeing from this team, it feels like they're destined for greatness, because they're either setting records or shattering in terms of efficiency. They've just been phenomenal. And if you are an objective observer, if you haven't watched this team all season long, you might think that they're getting lucky. You might think that things are due to fall off and they are going to decline. But this is the same shit they've been doing all season long. And so I just hope that people will put a little bit more respect on their names. That said, I feel compelled to show this video one more time.
Run.
I don't give a fuck about my numbers. Like,
How much?
I'm going to have fun with that one. That said, as I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you'd like to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send me a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support the show in a small but meaningful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. As you see, some of those people over on the right are listed as current patrons. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. You never know how much it helps support your favorite content creators. I can't wait for this team to close out Miami in this game 4, and I think that is slowly but surely just kind of creeping into the collective minds of Miami's fan base over there, is that it's over. After watching this team get demoralized and throw everything they had at Cleveland only to come up with an ass whooping, that speaks volumes. I think today was about as demoralizing as it gets, and I think it ends mercifully in game 4. Go Cavs.